Wide nines present space, and with all that space is a lot of time. So what are the keys that can help you out when dealing with all this space and time? I'm gonna try to help you today. Today, we have Josh, we have Brian. They're gonna be my demonstrators. Josh is gonna play the tackle, Brian's gonna play the wide nine. They're gonna do their best to kind of simulate what's going on when I'm talking about it. So let's get set. Now, first and foremost, the first rule of pass pro is get out of your stance. But when there's more space and time, we have to get out of our space on time, or you can be behind very quickly. If you notice here, when I say set hut, Brian's gonna get off the ball before Josh does, and that is manufactured. But I want you to see how Josh has to react. On my go, say go. As you can see, he had no choice. He had to turn, right? It didn't matter how good he was applying force to the ground. Didn't matter if he was staying square. He just had to open up and run. Now, if you look at him right now, if you look at the relationship between the space between them, this is the perfect amount of space that you want, right? Imagine there's a center here with the ball, so Brian has to back up behind the ball. The goal is to maintain this relationship of space until we get to that point back there of intersection. That's what we want to do. Until that defender puts his foot in the ground and wants to close in on the tackle, we want to maintain that relationship. In order to do that, we got to do it all the time. So this time, Josh, let's use a snap count to your advantage. Let's get out of the snap before he does. Ready? Say go. Good. As you can see, he maintained that relationship until that defender made his mind up to put his foot in the ground and try to run through him. Now, our second key. We got to stay square. You heard me already kind of talk about it, but we have to stay square. Why? Because if we don't stay square and we begin to open up as we're getting out of our stance, we're going to give this defender a two-way go, and that's not what we want. The number one reason why we want to stay square, we don't force this defender to feel like he has to take our edge. Or we just want to make sure that he doesn't feel comfortable with the idea that he can actually go inside. Number two, why? We want to maintain our stance. Right? When we go through that stance setup, it's very meticulous, right? We're really focusing on closing that door and squeezing that glute. But why are we doing that? Because we want to be able to maintain this stance when we get into the pressure phase. If we're going to get out of that stance, before we get to the pressure phase, why are we taking all that time to get into it in the beginning, right? We're just wasting our time. We get in the stance to maintain the stance against pressure to pressure. How are we going to do that? Well, first and foremost, we have the stance. So, pay attention to this clip right here. You find your foundation, get your catch leg, close the door. Now, when you get that close the door and you get down to that your joint angle zone, what you want to do is begin to squeeze those inner legs. This is going to make sure that when you do put all that force to the ground, everything doesn't go haywire. Your knee opens up, hip opens up, now your shoulder opens up. Now you open up, there's that two-way go. So let's make sure we keep that door closed. Number two, when we're talking about movement, we want to drive instead of kick. You've heard of the kick step. You probably heard of the kick slide. And the problem with these particular bad mechanics is that you cannot maintain the stance. You can't maintain that position of strength that we built from the beginning. So we want to drive rather than kick. And as you can see here, you see how we can stay square at each level of depth that we take. Last but not least, understand this. Depth kills width. I'm gonna say it again. Depth kills width. So we've talked about getting out of your stance on time. We've talked about staying square. Now, when a defender gives us all this width, we need depth. But how do we do that? Well, we know we're gonna put force through the ground with that opposite leg, right? If we wanna go to our right, the opposite leg has to be the driver of the angle we're intending to go. As Josh right here, go ahead and get set. Let's just show him what I'm talking about. If we want to go to my right, his left leg is going to be the driver. Ready? Say go. That's your little force one-on-one right now. But how do we get depth? Well, I'm going to tell Josh this. Josh, I want you to put force to the ground like you just did, but I want you to drive it down and away really north or really vertical, right? So we can get more depth. This is going to make sure that that depth is going to give us time to really time up that intersect point. If Josh were to go flat right now, guys, let's walk through that. If he were to go flat, that time gets shrunken down, right? We have less time, and B can really make that straight line to the quarterback. Let's show him what we're talking about right here. Ready? Say go. As you can see, we're not really timing up that intersect point of pressure to pressure. But, Josh, let's put force to the ground. Let's put it down and more north, and let's see where that puts us. Ready? Say go. Good. As you can see, now he had the time that he needed. So let's recap. Get out of your stance all the time. Stay square. And I mean square as SpongeBob. And last but not least, we need depth. That kills all that width, right? And you get more time. You get more time to see what he's doing. You get more time to feel what you're doing. And now you can get to that intersect point. Follow these keys. I promise you it's going to help you. This is your plan. Control what you can control. These keys will help you today. See you next time.